Hi, my name's Olivia, and I've spent years dreaming of this trip to Japan. So, from beautiful cherry blossoms to a Hello Kitty theme park, go karting throughout the city, and aesthetic cafes, and so much more, this trip certainly has it all. For quick context as to why this is my dream trip, a student from Japan lived with my family when I was very young and taught me Japanese, and I kept learning as an adult. Duolingo even threw me a streak party for it, so when my boyfriend told me that he wanted to take me to Japan, I was so excited, and we both planned the most amazing trip. So I wanted to share this vlog with you, so maybe you could replicate the trip for yourself. And I'm also happy to document this just so I could look back on these really fun memories. So without further ado, let's get into it. So my boyfriend and I arrived to Tokyo in early spring, so it was really cold, so as you can see I'm bundling up. We were both coming from Miami and used to warmer weather, and to be honest the cold weather was welcome, but definitely I advise that you check the weather to make sure that you pack the right clothes. Anyway, we stayed at the Royal Park in Ginza, and that hotel was lovely. The facility was so clean, the staff was so nice, and the area was fantastic. Ginza is almost like Brickell in Miami, if you're familiar with that location, which makes sense because Brickell is the financial district of Miami and Ginza is the financial district of Tokyo. So for our first full day in Tokyo, my boyfriend found this really amazing breakfast spot in Ginza. It's called CASITA, and they have a really great view, which I'll get to in a second. But as for the food options, they have a traditional Japanese breakfast, which my boyfriend really enjoyed. And they also have a traditional English-style breakfast, which was equally delicious. They have a stunning view of the city, which includes the iconic Tokyo Tower, which is that red and white building, so it's perfect for taking pictures. Next up are the Hamarikyu Gardens, which are walking distance from the Ginza Royal Park Hotel. It's about $2 USD entrance fee per adult, and let me tell you, it is well worth it. My boyfriend and I love nature, and this park did not disappoint. First of all, if you are there for cherry blossom season, they have an amazing lineup of cherry blossom trees, and they even have a beautiful yellow flower field, which is perfect for taking dreamy photos. What's even better is that the park was not crowded at all, especially because we went during the morning time. And they also have a traditional tea house on the grounds where you can enjoy beautiful snacks that also taste really good and delicious matcha. So overall, I think this park is a must-see and a really great hidden gem, especially if you're looking to beat the crowds and have your own tranquil time in nature in the middle of the city. Anyway, after the park excursion, we were both feeling a little bit tired and went back to the hotel to kind of rest and recover from our jet lag. And then later on, we went to Ichiran Ramen in Shimbashi for literally the best ramen I've ever had in my life. This ramen is life-changing. Literally, my boyfriend and I went back here 3 other times during the trip. That's how good it was. And it's a really cool experience where you get your own little cubicle where you eat at and you communicate through like tickets. Our first full day was over in Tokyo, and now on to day 2. Alright, so this next day is filled with a bunch of adventures. First up, we have Sensoji Temple in Asakusa. This is probably the most famous temple in Tokyo, so you should definitely check it out if you're in the area. And if you haven't eaten breakfast yet, they have plenty of vendors, so you might want to try some of the local foods. Also, a quick note that this is in Asakusa, but if you'd like to take a quick train ride over to Ikebukuro, then you can see one of the biggest anime stores in the world, which is Anime Ikebukuro. There are 9 levels of anime merch, and they also have some really cute gachapon machines at the front of the store. You should definitely go to Jonathan's, which funny enough is the name of my boyfriend, which is why we decided to stop in. And I'm so glad that we did, because it turns out that you get served by a robot cat waiter. There it is now. It's going to drive up, I guess you would call it drive up, and come deliver some food. Now, my favorite things that we ordered on the menu were the banana milk, which is kind of like a banana milkshake, kind of, but it was really good. And then the garlic fried rice. Oh my god, that garlic fried rice was so good. I think it was the best fried rice I've ever had in my life. 10 out of 10, recommend. And now on to the very exciting streetcar experience, where you get to drive around in little go-karts around Tokyo and even see the Tokyo Tower and take pictures. And oh my goodness, this was one of my favorite activities that my boyfriend and I did on this trip. I have to admit, I was a little bit scared at first, But once the tour began and we really started like driving and getting into the groove of things, it was just an unforgettable experience. Like I literally felt like I was in Mario Kart, and it was just something I will never forget. It was so much fun. I will say that if you want to do this experience, you need to have an international driver's permit, which if you're in the US, you can go to, I believe it's AAA and get one. But yeah, they had all these fun costumes that you could dress up in. My boyfriend and I chose Hello Kitty and Goofy. And then at the end of your driving experience, you could even choose a free sticker from this special surprise box. Anyway, we then went to Wagyu Sukiyaki Goku Ginza, which is a delicious sukiyaki restaurant where they give you unlimited sides of egg, miso soup, and rice. And then you also get the finishing touch of shaved truffle on your rice for your last bite. And then right upstairs in the same building is Muse, which is a really interesting bar. And they even have a kotatsu, which is this heated table out during cold times, which was a game changer. And really beautiful views of the city. Now, we asked for their special churro dessert, which is not on the menu, but if you come here, you definitely have to ask for them because they're absolutely so delicious. They also paired really well with this hot milk tea, especially since it was cold. It was the perfect dessert. Afterwards, we drove a little bit around the city and then ended up trying some of the famous Japanese Kentucky Fried Chicken, which was really good, and then getting some delicious taiyaki afterwards for dessert. And now we have day 3, which is all about Sanrio Puroland, and is also the fateful day where I learned the tough lesson that you seriously need to have cash on you in Japan. So as you can see, we're at the train station here, but this is actually footage from when we left because we had a huge fiasco in trying to use the train system to get to Sanrio Puroland. The reason being that my phone is an Android and is not compatible with the transportation system. In Japan, unlike New York, you cannot share passes. So for example, my boyfriend has an iPhone, but he is not allowed to use his phone for both me and him. We actually tried this and a train attendant came and told us it's not allowed. And then we could not find an ATM that worked with our international cards to withdraw cash to pay for the train tickets. So long story short, I was on a mission to see Cinema Roll. It was a lifelong dream of mine. So we ended up just taking a very expensive Uber to the park. But shout out to my boyfriend for, being patient with me during this tough situation and supporting my dream of seeing Cinema Roll. So anyway, if you are a Sanrio fan and you want to see a character here at the theme park, I'll break down the process for you. Basically, you come to this Little Twin Stars exhibit and line up as early as you can, because while character meet and greets are free, they do have a limited number of spaces and they fill up fast. So anyway, this line kind of goes by the Lady Kitty house, which was really, really cute. I love seeing the Hello Kitty mansion. It was adorable. And as you kind of move your way down through the queue, you end up at these kiosks by the Maimeru Drive, which is kind of like a little driving roller coaster, and you can see the open times. They have a big screen that shows you what characters are still available. Then you finally get to go to the kiosks where you can select your tickets for the character meet and greet. So just make sure you reserve your time and that you take a screenshot of the QR code because you'll need that later. So basically you return to the character meet and greet area later on, show them your QR code, and then you can meet your character that you would like to go ahead and meet. And there is not a limit on meeting characters, so if you want to get back in line and get another ticket, you're welcome to. But anyway, while we waited for the character meet and greet, we got some food at the food court, which came with a really cute souvenir lunchbox and tray. And while the food was very aesthetic and very adorable looking, I must admit it was probably not my favorite meal in Japan, although the apple juice was pretty good. Then afterwards we walked around Fairyland and went to check out the Cinema Roll experience, which is an interactive game where they play a movie on the screen and you use a magic wand to help the pilot Cinema Roll get out of some sticky situations. It was really cute, and I thought it was a really great way to get hyped up for meeting Cinema Roll later on. And our final stop before seeing Cinema Roll was going to the Lady Kitty house to see Hello Kitty's beautiful mansion in all its splendor. This is really neat because you could see so many things like a little baby grand piano, along with a huge bear that would pop out, all her clothes, and a bunch of other really cute furniture and decor. And afterwards, we actually got to take a picture with Hello Kitty, which was really fun and unexpected, especially since you didn't need a reservation for this meet and greet experience. And then it was finally time to meet Cinnamoroll. So the way that they do this is they have these different themed rooms where they have different characters go for the meet and greet. Cinnamoroll was in the workout room, which I thought was so adorable and inspiring. And it was just so much fun being able to meet the mascot. After meeting Cinnamoroll, we went ahead and did a little bit of shopping, got some snacks and drinks, and then went ahead and left this magical land of Sanrio Puroland. Now we had a pretty long train ride back, but to keep the magic going, we went to Tirnanog. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But it is a really cool and aesthetic fairy and magic themed bar. They had fairies and fairy dust jars everywhere. They had keys and butterflies hanging from the ceiling. It was just such a beautiful place and very whimsical, and felt like I was inside of Harry Potter or something. And while it's a bar, they did have non-alcoholic drinks and food, and just the ambiance itself was really unique and interesting and just felt very magical, and was certainly a great way to end a magical day together. Next up, we have seen the famous Shibuya Scramble, as well as some shopping and a fun Team Labs experience. So let's go ahead and get into it. So on this day, as you can see, our train took us right to the Shibuya Scramble, and we got to see it from above, but also go ahead and go down to street level and be part of the action. So remember how I said earlier, Ginza felt a lot like Brooklyn, Miami? Well, I would say that Shibuya felt a lot like New York. It was very hustle and bustle. There were signs and things everywhere, food everywhere. It was a really interesting city, and it was packed with people, and there was just an excitement in the air. But anyway, we went ahead and walked over to the Shibuya Parko, which is famous for its open air rooftop, and of course the Pokemon Center, where you can see Mewtwo in a really interesting installation, as well as other artwork, and shop really cool Pokemon merch. Also right across from the Pokemon Center is the Nintendo store. And there are also plenty of other theme stores like Shonen Jump, and if you're into Japanese streetwear, Angelic Pretty, which features really interesting, sweet style, gothic Lolita clothing. And as a ballerina who's grown up dancing in the Nutcracker, this just reminds me of the dresses that Clara would wear in that production, just with a little bit of a modern twist. So it's not something I would personally wear, but I do think that the style is really, really cool. And growing up, I looked at Japanese fashion magazines from the early 2000s, and I saw plenty of the streetwear in those magazines, so it was really cool to see them in real life and at this pop-up store that they had there. Now, just a heads up that if you're going to Shibuya Parko in spring, you might want to double check their rooftop to see if it's still under renovation. We did not, and when we showed up, we got this sign that said that the rooftop was closed. But no worries, there was still plenty of beautiful vantage points throughout the building, so we still got to enjoy a stunning view of Shibuya. We then ate some delicious Italian food at a place called To the Herbs, and then headed back to Ginza for some more shopping and exploring. So we came across this really interesting mall called G6, and inside was an absolutely astounding art installation. It was a ton of cats in spacesuits, all like exploding out of a spaceship. They also had a bunch of really beautiful stores here and really cool other art installations like this waterfall. Overall, G6 was definitely more of a window shopping experience for me, but I really liked seeing all that they had to offer as far as art goes. And then at night we had a Team Labs Planet experience booked, which you most certainly need to book in advance. This was a very interesting interactive exhibit, and if you've ever been to Super Blue in Miami, it definitely reminds me of that. Basically, you walk through all these interactive exhibits that demonstrate water, forest, garden, and open air. I would say that my favorite exhibit was the garden exhibit. They just had so many beautiful orchids hanging down from the ceiling, along with playing really cool music, and it just felt so immersive and like you were just really within nature. Forest was also cool because you got to go through this one exhibit where there were like extinct animals that you could like digitally capture. So I did not partake in the water exhibit because I don't like being barefoot in communal spaces. And I will say my critique for open air was it was just pretty much a restaurant outside for vegan food. So if you're into vegan food, that's definitely a place that you can go ahead and eat afterwards, or if not, go ahead and explore the area around. My boyfriend and I definitely went back to the Ichiran Ramen because it's one of our favorite spots, and had a nice dinner there. We then stopped by a little sweet potato store near our hotel and got some delicious ice cream for dessert, which was a great way to end the day. So we actually left for Kyoto for a while and then came back to Tokyo, and I'll be sharing those Kyoto adventures soon. But once we came back to Tokyo, it was actually snowing, which was so exciting, especially as people coming from Florida, I barely ever see snow. But yeah, we had this really delicious brunch at Good Morning Cafe and Grill right by the Tokyo Tower. They have a really delicious menu, and their mimosas were great, their breakfast burger and pasta were delicious, and definitely 10 out of 10 recommend that you stop by the spot for breakfast or brunch. And then it was time to meet at the famous Tokyo Station for our last excursion in Tokyo, which was a bus tour for a full day around Mount Fuji. So we booked our tour through Klook, and I think that was a really good way to go because the tour wasn't just about Mount Fuji. They had you explore various towns around Mount Fuji, and I think that's really a good way to go because, as our tour guide mentioned, Mount Fuji is actually only visible about 100 days of the year, and even on those days, it might be visible for just a few hours. So it's important to book a tour that isn't just entirely Mount Fuji centered. You want to be able to do some other fun shopping and perhaps food tourism along the way. And I highly recommend that you try to set yourself up for success from the get-go by looking at the weather before booking your tour. We got very, very lucky because we did get to see Mount Fuji. In fact, at one of the vantage points, like the second we got there, the clouds moved and we could see the mountaintop. In fact, there was another tourist in front of us who turned around and said that, "I've been waiting here since 9 a.m. and it's currently 3 p.m. and I just now got to see it for the first time." So as you can see, Mount Fuji can be a little bit shy. That's how our tour guide described it anyway. And again, it's very important to book a tour that has other activities so that in the case that you don't get to see Mount Fuji, you'll still have fun while on your journey there. And now I just want to take a few seconds to show you the beautiful scenery around Mount Fuji. It was extra breathtaking because it had snowed just the day before, and it was just truly a sight to behold, especially as someone who's not used to seeing snow. I think my favorite part of the tour, aside from seeing Mount Fuji of course, was the Swan Lake. Oh my goodness, it was so beautiful, and the swans were like, they were huge but so graceful and also really well behaved. And I also would like to just take a quick moment to say that, you know, this trip was definitely a trip of a lifetime. It has been a trip that I have been looking forward to for years. I'm just so thankful for my boyfriend for helping to make it happen finally. And I do want to say that I got to meet up with that Japanese student who used to stay with my family and, you know, meet her family now that she has, and that was just such a really special moment, especially because I was finally able to have like a full conversation with her in Japanese. And you know, she really helped spark a love for Japanese culture and language in me. And I'm also very thankful to Duolingo for helping me continue to learn the Japanese language and be able to have this special moment with her. I hope that you all really enjoyed this adventure with me. I certainly enjoyed living it, and especially looking back on this footage. So, you know, I do have a bunch of adventures from Kyoto that I am so excited to share. And, you know, if you'd like to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those good things, I'd really appreciate it. And if you hit the bell, you'll be able to be in the loop for when I share those Kyoto memories. By the way, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for tuning in. I will put all the location information below in the video description box so that you can easily reference it for your upcoming trip to Japan if you're planning one. Anyway, my name is Olivia, and I usually share ballet educational content as well as lifestyle content here on YouTube. And I'm so glad that you could stop by. Thank you again for tuning in. Take care, and I hope to see you again soon. See you later.